Hi, this class mainly deals Hess law of constant heat summation, and so generally heats of reactions are expressed using their enthalpies. So therefore, we focus on enthalpy now, and enthalpy is a state function. So let's take a system which is moving from some initial state to some final state, and in that process, and maybe in the path, the change in enthalpy is same whether this change from some initial state to final state is carried in different paths. So in all these paths, the delta H, that is change in enthalpy, is same. Why? The main function, the enthalpy, is a state function. It doesn't depend on the path how the change has been brought about. It only depends on the state where it is. There is no dependence on the history of how it has come to that state. It only depends on the initial state and final state. Irrespective of the path followed, the change is final value minus initial value. So this, using this quality of enthalpy, S has given a law which is known as Hess law, and this law can be used for state functions like entropy, even for Gibbs free energy also we can write this. So now let's define what is Hess law. So Hess law is basically the enthalpy change, which is heat released. So we can say heat evolved or absorbed in a process. What is a process? Let's say in a process there is something happening. How? A system is going from one state to another state. In the middle, let's say some chemical changes are also happening. So the heat evolved or absorbed in a process, even if it has a chemical change, that includes, so including chemical change here, including chemical change is always same, is always same. For a fixed process, from fixed initial state to some final state, the heat evolved or heat absorbed is always same, if even that involves chemical changes in the middle also. This law is known as Hess law of constant heat summation, and the point is this process can happen in any number of steps. If it happens in one step, the heat evolved. If it happened in several steps, the heat evolved is also same. Therefore, it is irrespective of, so we can say irrespective of the path followed. Okay, let's put it in a very clear terms. So let's say from a set of, from a particular, when we apply it to the chemical reactions, from a particular set of reactants to a particular set of products, particular set of products. So this, let's say this a kind of initial state and this is a final state. This is same whether this set of reactants are becoming this set of products. This change can happen in a single step or may happen in several steps depending on the kind of reaction mechanism it follows. So some reactions, let's say a reaction is going directly from reactants to products in a single step, or the same reaction, if it happens in several steps, the heat changes involving in all these several steps in the second path is equal to the heat released in the first path which happened in a single step. So that means a particular set of reactants are becoming particular set of products. The heat evolved is same whether that process happened directly or involving in several steps, a series of steps. Okay, so this is about Hess law. And what are the characteristics of enthalpy change? Now let's go, because this is going to be very helpful in doing the calculations. So now let's go to the characteristics of characteristics of enthalpy change. Very first thing, we know that enthalpy is a state function. Another important character of the enthalpy is it is an extensive property. Based on these two factors, so we will try to assign some important points to keep in mind when doing the problems. Therefore, the main characteristics of enthalpy change for a reaction depends on again their fundamental character. What is that? Enthalpy is a state function and extensive property. The first thing is, if we reverse a reaction rate, if reaction is reversed, then what happens? The sign of delta H is also reversed. We must reverse it. If a set of, for example, let's take this example as a understanding. So this is the reaction that is happening to produce this product, and for this reaction delta H is negative 251 kilojoules. Let's say we have reversed the reactions, that is XeF4 decomposing into Xe gas and 2F2 gas, and the heat change here is same, but only difference is earlier heat is released, now the heat is absorbed. Therefore this is going to be positive 251 kilojoules. So this is the main thing we must keep in our mind when we are doing some problems based on Hess law, which are part of thermochemistry. Now the second most important thing is, which is based on the extensive property character of enthalpy. So as enthalpy is a extensive property, if the coefficients of a balanced equation have changed by some integer, the heat change is also multiplied by the same integer. So what we can say, for example, let's take this example. So the same example that we have used in the previous understanding, that is 2F2 gas is giving XeF4 solid, and this is delta H equal to negative 251 kilojoules. What does it indicate here? When 1 mole of xenon gas combined with 2 moles of fluorine gas to produce 1 mole of xenon tetrafluoride, the heat liberated is 251 kilojoules. Okay, this is a chemical combination that is happening in a generalized way. So that means for every 1 mole of xenon gas, we require 2 moles of fluorine gas and producing 1 mole of xenon fluoride. So in a relative, if we take 2 moles of xenon gas, that requires 4 moles of fluorine and that produces 2 moles of XeF4. In that case, the enthalpy change is going to be exactly double of 251. Why? Enthalpy is an extensive property, and if we increase the mass of the reactants and products, the same is going to be reflected in the enthalpy change. So why it is so? Because enthalpy is an extensive property. It depends on the quantity. So if we change the quantities of the species involving in the reaction, the enthalpy of the reaction also changes. depending on the quantities we have used. So here, so that means generally this is the way we write a chemical reaction to reflect the chemical change. So if we want to reflect the masses, let's say 2 moles of xenon gas, 4 moles of fluorine gas to produce 2 moles of HCF for this reaction. For other reactions, let's say the fundamental balance reaction is multiplied with some integer to indicate greater masses production or greater masses involvement, or multiplied with a fraction so that less masses are indicated. In that case, what happens? Basically, we are changing the coefficients of the species, that is reactants and products in the balanced equation. And if we do so, the enthalpy change is also multiplied with the same integer. So let's take this reaction is multiplied by integer 2. So then what should we do? This new enthalpy, which is for greater quantities, will be exactly double of this 251 kilojoules. So therefore, for 2 moles of xenon gas, 4 moles of fluorine gas is giving 2 moles of HCF4. The enthalpy change or the heat liberated is negative 502 kilojoules. What does it mean? If coefficients of a balanced equation are multiplied by some integer, multiplied by an integer, so that results in delta H is also multiplied by same integer. So multiplied by same integer. And what is the fact that is used to make this generalized statement? That is the extensive property character of enthalpy. Okay, so these two characters are very important, and now we are going to apply Hess law to some problems. Okay, now let's take, we can find out enthalpy changes of a reaction which it is very difficult to measure the enthalpy change experimentally. So if we are not able to measure a heat of reaction of a particular reaction, should we give up? No, we should find some ways to find the enthalpy change of that reaction. So here comes the Hess law for our help. So using Hess law, we are going to find out enthalpy of a reaction, and for which enthalpy is very difficult to determine experimentally. So we are now calculating its enthalpy using the Hess law. So let's take the example. So the reaction here we are interested is this one, that is, so carbon solid, let's take graphite, so oxygen and producing CO gas. And for this reaction, determination of enthalpy change is very difficult to measure or determine experimentally. So to get this one, so this is a total reaction. Therefore, what does the Hess law says? From a set of particular reactants to set of particular products, if the heat change involved in that process is same, whether that reaction happens in a single step or multiple steps. Let's take the same set of reactants and same set of products that we can get using multiple reactions. So let's take two other reactions. So carbon solid plus oxygen gas, so that gives carbon dioxide gas. This is basically combustion of carbon, so that gives enthalpy change negative 393.5 kilojoules. Okay, let's take one more reaction, that is carbon monoxide burning with oxygen, that gives you CO2 gas. So let's use these two reactions and we combine these two reactions to arrive at this particular reaction. So the combination of these two reactions in a particular way to arrive this particular set of reactants and this particular set of products, and in that process the heat change involved, the enthalpy change involved, and this direct enthalpy change involved, both are same, that is Hess law. So and for this reaction the enthalpy change is negative 282.0 kilojoules. So to arrive this final equation, and we must take the help of these two equations in a in a clever way, in a mathematically manipulation, in a mathematical manner. So what we do here, so we take first reaction. Why I am taking the first reaction as it is? If I focus on the first reaction, which we are interested to arrive at the final reaction, that has carbon solid as a reactant. So this reactant, this reaction that has carbon solid as a reactant in the second path is same, because this reaction is also having carbon as reactant and this one is also having carbon as reactant. Therefore I take this as same reaction without reversing it, so that I maintain carbon solid as a reactant. So we get here the first reaction as it is. So now I am taking its enthalpy as without changing the sign. Now in the second reaction, and overall there should not be no involvement of carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide must cancel, and also we should have only half oxygen. So and carbon monoxide should be a product. So to get carbon monoxide as a product, and in these two reactions we already used the first reaction, and this reaction must be reversed. If we reverse this reaction, the carbon monoxide will be a product, carbon dioxide will be a reactant. So in this if we reverse this reaction, this is carbon dioxide going to be reactant. In the first reaction we are using as it is, carbon dioxide is going to be product. So when we add these two reactions, the carbon dioxide will cancel out and carbon monoxide will settle as product. So and finally the mathematics of moles of oxygen on reactant side and product side will give us half mole of oxygen. So let's see. So I am reversing the second reaction. So that is going to be carbon monoxide solid plus half oxygen gas. So when I reverse the reaction, I must also reverse the sign of enthalpy. So for the second reaction, the given enthalpy is negative 282.0, and when we are doing the calculation to arrive at this final equation using these two equations, we have to reverse the sign of enthalpy change. So that's going to be positive 282.0 kilojoules. Now if we have to add these two, when we add these two, what's going to happen? The carbon monoxide will cancel out. So we have carbon solid. Now on the products, on the reactant side we have oxygen 1 mole, and on the product side we have oxygen half mole. Therefore we end up oxygen on reactant side, because we have a more reactants of oxygen than the moles of the oxygen as a product. Therefore the final moles of oxygen is half mole of reactants. So that gives us, so this is already gone in the mathematics, and we left with carbon monoxide solid. Now the heat change for this overall process and this one is basically summation of these two. So these two steps. So that gives us how much we get? 390. So this is 5, 1, 1, 1 and minus sign. So using the other two reactions in a simple way of doing the mathematics, we are able to the arrive at the enthalpy of the reaction for this chemical change. So how it is possible? Because the main two characteristics of enthalpy are helpful in getting these kind of enthalpy changes for reactions for which enthalpy changes are difficult to measure, and some other reactions happen very slowly, and doing enthalpy changes measurement for them is a very waiting process. It takes a lot of time. So therefore, for them also, using the Hess law, we can find out the enthalpy change. And most important of the Hess law is its application to Barn-Haber cycle. What is the Barn-Haber cycle? Barn-Haber cycle actually a kind of mathematics involved in the thermochemical calculations involved in several processes, which can be used for the calculation of lattice energy of solids. So we will study in the next class about Barn-Haber cycle and application of Hess law in the Barn-Haber cycle. What is Barn-Haber cycle? Barn-Haber cycle is essentially an application of Hess law. An application of Hess law. And this was developed by two great scientists. One is Max Born and other one is Fritz Haber. Both are Nobel Prize winners, and they are popular in uh, the World War times, First World War One and World War Two. And this man is the Fritz Haber is known as, he was uh, recognized as a hero of the Germany in the First World War. He helped Germany in developing chemical warfare, and for which he was criticized. And another story that Ernst Rutherford refused to shake his hands with Fritz Haber for his alleged involvement in the development of chemical weapons in the First World War. And Max Born is a very famous theoretician, and he was famous for Born-Oppenheimer approximation. The quantum science, the quantum mechanics, and he was also a Nobel Prize recipient, and he was expelled from Kaiser Wilhelm Institute of Science by Adolf Hitler during the Nazi years of rule. So in the next class, we are going to study Barn-Haber cycle, how Hess law is useful in finding several properties like ionization potential, uh, what is the other one? Lattice energy, electron affinity. So these things can be calculated using the Barn-Haber cycle. So in the next class, we will define Barn-Haber. We will discuss Barn-Haber cycle, and followed by a particular example uh, by which we are able to find out some uh, some important properties like electron affinity,